Jai Hind everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel, which is Explore Yourselves, Banking and General Knowledge, etc. Memoir of my banking journey by Mr. V.H. Ramakrishnan, retired General Manager of Bank of India. Episode number 26. The chapter Kenyan Safari is continuing. The link of earlier episodes is available in description. Structural changes. Life went on as usual. I think it was 1982 beginning. The chief executive was not only the manager of Kenya branches, but was also the manager of Nairobi branch. The next in line was Mr. Majumdar, designated as accountant. One day we received a communication from head office stating that it had been decided to designate the accountant as manager, Nairobi branch. With the change in designations, Mr. Majumdar was also entitled for a chauffeur-driven car. We are all delighted at this development. There was also a change of incumbent at Mombasa. Mr. J.Y. Devanji was posted as manager. Bank was particular to post Gujaratis as managers in those days. Devanji was my batchmate, a very practical banker and a top taskmaster. Before Mr. Majmundar could enjoy the benefits of some time, he was transferred back to Indian establishment. Mr. N. M. Thakkar was posted to relieve him. Mr. Thakkar was in the first batch of officers who were promoted to Skill 4. I was not called for the interview since my actual service was less than 17 years. However, since Mr. Thakkar was in any way senior to me in Skill 3, I did not feel uncomfortable. Co-op attempt. The last shock. 1st August 1982, Sunday. An unforgettable day. Got up as usual around 6:30. There was an unusual silence. I went to the balcony of my flat and looked outside. Absolutely no activity. Somewhere I heard faint gunshots. I quickly went inside and switched on the radio known as Voice of Kenya. There was an announcement. The tyrannical rule of Daniel Arap Moi has ended. The army had taken over the government. There is a curfew. All are requested to stay at home and not move out until further orders. We were frightened. I recorded the announcement in a cassette. We kept quiet. After some time, the radio also became quiet. We could hear the gunshots on the radio. Later, I learned fighting was going on at the radio station. What had happened was that a group of Air Force officers planned a coup and took over the voice of Kenya. They asked a few pilots of the Air Force to bomb the presidential palace, but the pilots acted as if they were obeying the rule, but flew away and dropped the bombs in the forest. Meanwhile, the army moved in and surrounded the voice of Kenya and killed and arrested the rebel officers. It took about 6 hours for the army loyal to the president to take control of the situation. Luckily, we had enough food at home. What happened after a few hours was unbelievable. The mob moved in and looted the stores. They broke open the doors, shutters, and entered the shops. From our balcony, we could see people carrying music systems, TV sets, furniture, etc. on their heads, all looted from shops. Next day morning, we went to the office as usual. The curfew was still on. All those walking on the road walked with both hands raised over their heads. We went to the road near the office. We had heard that Mohanlal stores I had mentioned about Rajni Bhai earlier was ransacked. What we saw was something amazing. There were 34 bullet shots on the cash safe. Many retail shops belonging to the Indian origin businessmen were all looted. All their safes were looking empty. Textile shops had no clothes left. Even furniture were taken away or broken. But there was no sympathetic reports in the newspapers about Indian origin businessmen. Hats off to their entrepreneurship. Within a month, all the shops were back to normal business. Bank had no problem. The accounts never became NPAs. We sent messages through our head office to our relatives in India that we are okay. The funny thing was many in India were not even aware that there was a coup attempt. They responded asking, "Why did you send the 'We are safe' message?" Indian newspapers published the news on seventh or eighth page, that too only a small para. And elevations, not promotion. A few months after Mr. Thakkar came, Mr. Shroff was transferred to India as Zonal Manager of Gujarat. The bank elevated Mr. Thakkar as the Chief Executive of Kenya branches, and I was posted as the Manager of Nairobi branch. This was an unexpected positive development. I was quite happy, but the car was not given to me immediately. Mr. Thakkar gave the BMW of the Chief Executive for extensive repairs and continued to use the car allotted to the Manager Nairobi branch. I was using my personal car. After about 3 weeks, I politely asked him as to when I could get the car. He smiled and told me that it would be ready within a week. Meanwhile, he told me he would pass my petrol bills. Finally, I got the car after about a month, a Toyota Corolla with a high power engine. Immediately, I sold my personal car. We all felt very sad when saying bye to our beloved car. Due to inflation, I almost got the same price which I paid for buying it. So, after clearing the car loan, I had a reasonable surplus. Finally, after 2.5 years, I had my first real savings. I think that was the turning point. I knew that Mombasa manager was entitled for club membership, newspapers, and entertainment allowance. Nothing was available to me. I waited for a couple of months. Nothing happened. So after a lot of hesitations, I went to Mr. Thakkar and asked him whether we can refer to head office about my parks. He laughed and said that he was expecting this question. He said he would allocate shillings 5,000 for entertainment. He asked me whether it was okay. I told him that was perfectly fine. He also allowed buying local papers. I myself opted out of club membership. This enabled me to claim reimbursement for the dinners hosted by me. In fact, Mr. Thakkar was a fine gentleman. While Shroff was a very dynamic and dashing, Thakkar looked a bit lazy and leisurely. The appearance was deceptive. He was more focused in the housekeeping. Shifting the residence. With my elevation as manager, I was asked to move into a bigger residence earmarked for the accountant. The house was located in Parkland's 2nd Avenue, 3 buildings away from the bungalow of the chief executive. There were 2 buildings in the compound. The first one, an independent house, was the manager's residence. Behind there was a building with ground floor and first floor. In the ground floor, one Mr. Shah was staying. In the first floor, Mr. Panachand Dedia, the landlord, was staying. Mr. Dedia was an important figure in the community. While writing about dress code earlier, I had mentioned about him. I am going to repeat for the sake of new readers. Mr. Dedia will always appear in full suit, Mark and Spencer, without any crease. Even when he was at home, he would be in full suit. I had never seen him in a night dress. We used to call him a Zodiac man. Those days in India, Zodiac ties used to advertise in the papers with a male model wearing a full suit. I once asked him, "Do you also sleep in full suit?" He laughed and replied that he would wear a night dress for sleeping but would switch over to full suit immediately after his bath in the morning. The house was very convenient. It was a luxury to stay in an independent house with a separate study room for the children. Back to office. Reconciliations was a problem area. Mr. Thakkar would take some 5 old entries at a time and would personally try and follow up until they were reconciled. One of the best contributions of Mr. Thakkar was in clearing the old records. We had a big room behind the cash counters where all the old records are stored. The branch was opened in 1953. After that, for 29 years, no one had cleared the old records. Mr. Thakkar told me that we should destroy all unwanted records and would keep only what was legally required. He said he would come on a few Saturdays. We had a 5-day week and do this job. All the expertise joined in this massive job helped by an excellent service staff smell. When we were clearing the records, we discovered that there was another room inside, the existence of which none of us were aware of it. It was completely hidden by the old records. We completed the process in about 8 weeks. Hats up to Thakkar. It also taught us one lesson. Everyone posted abroad was behaving like a transit passengers, doing the routine, passing their time. It needed Thakkar to do a cleanup. Tell peace. When I landed in Nairobi, Mr. Daniel Arap Moi was the president. He was earlier vice president under Jomo Kenyatta. After Jomo Kenyatta's death, he became the president. Kenya was a capitalist country. Mr. Moi once declared, if anyone in Kenya wants to be communist, he can go to China. He has no place here. Once in a while, anti-Asian, read anti-Indian sentiments will be expressed by the local politicians. Charles Ninjo was a powerful minister in Moi's government. He had married an English lady. He made a statement in parliament. If Mr. Patel is driven out of this country, to whom will I go for my ENT problem? He rubbished all the anti-Indian talk. Expatriate officers. Manier and Saigal had left. We had Mr. B.T. Anchan, Mr. Malkan, and Mr. D.B. Mehta. Anchan had a training in London and was an expert in credit. In the 70s, he was in HO. His circulars AFD, BTA or C&IC BTA were very famous. No ambiguity, crystal clear. One of the best officers of the bank. He was also a staunch disciplinarian. Malkan was a good PRO, more comfortable in Gujarati. D.B. Mehta was a bachelor and came from MP. He took over advances department, but his papers would go through me. Earlier, when I was in credit, my papers would directly go to the C with the accountant being resigned as manager. Nairobi branch. Credit papers were routed through the manager so that whatever was written, what, whatever was within his authority, he could sanction. Readers might have noticed that I normally do not write anything adverse about an officer, but my story will not be complete if I do not write about the peculiar behavior of some officers. I will not mention any names. It was closing time. Mr. Thakkar told one of the officers to phone the customers whose accounts were overdrawn to regularize them. In those days, we did not have any direct line on our tables. Only the C had that luxury. We had to always go through the operator. Do you know the reply given by this officer? Sir, I do not have a direct line. I will give you the list with phone numbers. You have a direct line. Please ask your secretary to connect you to the customers one by one and you can talk to them. We are shocked when the officers proudly told us about this conversation. I do not know how Mr. Thakkar tolerated such behavior. I thought this was perhaps symbolic of the next generations. The same officers also once gave me a crude reply. It was the first time I had such an experience. On completion of the term, this officer resigned and took up a local job. He called on me when I visited Nairobi in the 90s and was all polite and well behaved. It was customary in Kenya for the Indian origin customers to give gifts, not very expensive, mostly plastic material, at the time of Deepavali. Some would come home and some would give it in the office itself. One of our officers, who had a high code of ethics, would tell the customers to wait and then he would open the wrapper and look at the contents. If it was a pen, he would accept, otherwise, he would return it. The customers felt offended at this strange behavior and stopped offering gifts from the second year to this officer. More about these officers later. Staff and their discretion. I had mentioned that the staff would work as if they were in the factory. What amazed me was their quick adaptability to the work. Once we transferred an intelligent lady clerk from current accounts to foreign exchange, she moved to her new seat without a murmur and started working as if she was in that seat for many years. All the clerks would follow the laid down rules but would never use their discretion. Any deviations they would refer to higher authorities. I think in India many use discretions. When I was working as manager, I was in the banking hall. No separate cabin. Now I understand there is a cabin for the manager. Behind me was the grill door with an askar in attendance. It was customary for the VIP customers to come inside and sit before me for their banking needs. Once Christian Kenyatta, daughter of Jomo Kenyatta, the freedom fighter and the first president, came to see me. She was also the mayor of Nairobi in the past. The askari, who knew her very well, I asked her to wait outside the grilled door and came to me and whispered, Sir, can I allow Christian Kenyatta to come inside? I literally ran to receive her and apologized profusely. She laughed and said, No problem. He was only doing his duty. But every now and then, some fraud committed by staff would come to light. For the first time, we recruited a local Kenyan as a direct recruit officer. He had passed his BCom in Baroda. He used to even greet us in Hindi. Very smart. We are impressed. Just 3 months, did a forgery and stole money from a savings account to buy a two-wheeler. We had to sack him. Of course, we recovered the money from him. An unforgettable note. One day Mr. Thakkar was not in office. It was around 12 noon. Jackson, the head sipai, came and told me that there was a call from Mr. So and so, a person holding a very high position in the government. It will not be proper for me to reveal the position held by the VIP. I attended the call. The conversations went like this. VIP, how are you, Bana Ramakrishnan? I am fine, sir. What can I do for you? VIP, what time do you close the cash? I, we close at 1 p.m. normally, but that should not be an issue in your case. Please let me know how we can help you. VIP, I want to deposit some cash in my account. My secretary will come to you, but he may not reach before 1 p.m. Can we accept the cash? Sir, absolutely no problem. We'll take care. VIP, thank you very much, Bana Ramakrishnan. And you are welcome, sir. Just before 1 p.m., the secretary came. He gave me a letter. The letter was handwritten. It read like this. Dear Mr. Ramakrishnan, I spoke to you this morning. I am sending some cash. Please help to deposit it in my account. Yours sincerely. What a courtesy. It was in the official letterhead of the VIP. I took the letter home and kept it as a memento in my personal file. VIP visits. It was very common for the VIPs to come to the bank driving their cars themselves. Once a very popular minister came driving his own car. He parked it in your parking lot and came to me. He wanted to draw some cash. He sat before me. I asked a sipai to get the cash for him. Many local staff came to greet him. He told them, Do you know why I deal with Bank of India? This is one bank where things are kept confidential. I love this Indian bank. I will never move in my account from this bank. I felt proud. Mr. Moangit Mathai. Mr. Mathai was the chairman of Kirloskar Kenya Limited. He was very fond of India. His wife Wangari Mathai won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2004. Mathai was once a minister, but very unassuming and simple. He once invited me to his farm. I went with him. There was an old man doing some digging in the farm. He came near the car. Mr. Mathai introduced the old man as his father. Kenyans normally win marathons and excel in athletics. Mr. Simon Naichai. Mr. Naichai was the cabinet secretary during my time, a powerful personality, right hand man of the president, Mr. Moi. I had occasions to meet Mr. Naichai, a perfect gentleman. Later on, in the late 90s, he visited India. At that time, he had presidential ambitions. I received an invitation to meet him at Taj for lunch. I think it was sponsored by Bank of Baroda. I attended the lunch. It was heartening to find that he still remembered me. Personal loans to Kenyans. This was one area where we did not have any default. The main reason was the employee had to give an irrevocable letter to his employer for deducting and remitting the installments to the bank. Even if he resigns, the employer would not settle his dues unless they get a confirmation from the bank that the loan was cleared. The employer would write to the bank to get the clearances to settle. Reconciliation cards. Around 1983 or so, many started importing reconditioned cars from Japan. In fact, they were old cars, completely reconditioned and looked like new cars. There was a good demand. Many Indian expatriates who were working as teachers saw this as a good opportunity to make money. We gave loans to many for the import of cars, which this later sold and repaid our loans. I had a satisfaction that I could help many expatriates to get some extra income. They were not that well paid as teachers. Tailpiece. Once I was having toothache. Mr. Cycle suggested that I should go and see Dr. Sort, an Englishman who was quite famous. I went to him, he examined me and said I had to undergo root canal treatment. That was the first time I heard about root canal treatment. I think it was not that well known in India. I asked him what exactly he was going to do. He said, "Do not worry. I am just going to cut a nerve. We'll be all right." Without giving me any opportunity to think about it, he told me to relax and started the treatment right away. He did an excellent job. I had 3 or 4 sittings with him, and a cap was fixed. Then he sent a big bill. I almost fainted. Anyway, I sent the bill to our head office. Prompt came the query as to whether I had any gold filling done. I answered in the negative, and the bill was then passed to a great relief. My visit to Central Bank of Kenya, CBK, our chief cashier Peter used to tell me about the security checks at the Central Bank of Kenya. Once I told him I would accompany him while drawing cash from the CBK. A day before my visit, the names of staffs who would be going to collect the cash as well as the vehicle number was given. We gave the numbers of the security van as well as the car in the which I would be going. The exact time also needed to be mentioned. When we reached the CBK, we are stopped at the first checkpoint. They verified the vehicle numbers with the list they had. We moved on to the second checkpoint. Same procedure. Then we were allowed to park the vehicle. We walked to the office of the currency in charge. He was in fact our customer. He used to come to our bank almost every other day and used to sit before my table and chit chat. But that day he just said hello and demanded my ID card. Knowing very well that I was the manager of Bank of India, I produced the ID and he verified it properly and noted the particulars. Then only he smiled at me and started chit-chatting. What a professional approach. Everything went smoothly. I made another visit to CBK later when I was GM International during 1997. That time I met the governor. Surprisingly, he was not a banker and was a former chief executive of Levers in Kenya. Again, excellent verification system. He did not make me wait even for a minute. Came out of his cabin and received me and the chief executive and discussed with us about Indian economy and banking. Coffee was served in style. When I visited Fed Reserve in US, no coffee was offered. Bank of England would first serve coffee and biscuits. Then only they would start discussions. In Japan, automatically Japanese tea would be served in small cups. It would be just like hot water. Hong Kong also would offer proper coffee or tea. Somehow we had not visited the regulator in Singapore. Once I was with the deputy governor of Central Bank of Nigeria. His secretary came and told him that a minister was online. The deputy governor told him that he would call him later. The secretary went away but came back within 2 minutes and told that DG had the minister would like to talk to him immediately. The DG got flared up. He told his secretary, "Tell the minister that I am in a meeting with a senior banker and cannot be disturbed. I would call him later." I was impressed with the professional approach. All the above incidents were lessons for me. Visits of executives. I had already mentioned about the visit of Mr. Bhogul, the then chairman. I do not think any other chairman visited Kenya during my tenure. Nairobi was a stopover for the executives visiting Lagos. Otherwise, no executive planned a separate visit to Kenya. Mr. D.N. Shukla visited Nairobi a couple of times. He was the executive director of the bank. He had spent over 10 years in East Africa, mainly in Kenya. Nairobi has an internationally famous golf course. Mr. Shukla learned playing golf in East Africa and became a very good player. Even during his short visits, he would find time to go and play golf. He knew all the customers. He was a very popular executive, fondly remembered by the customers. Mr. Mahinder Singh Bora used to tell us that Mr. Shukla was like a father to them. He told us that they were once facing financial crunch. Mr. Shukla was the chief executive at that time. The market thought the Boras were going to fail. At that time, Mr. Shukla made it known to the business community that any amount of bills accepted by the Boraj would be discounted by the bank and the bank would guarantee the payment. This one statement cheered the market and restored their confidence in Boraj. They easily came out of their problems and then became a powerful business group in Kenya, owning hotels and other businesses. They never left Bank of India. It was like a great partnership. I am sure they are still with us. Once Mr. Shukla and Mr. Eddie Rege, GM International, visited us. According to me, that visit proved to be a turning point in my career path. We had one group dealing with us almost from the beginning. From retailing, they had switched over to manufacturing and were facing a lot of liquidity problems. They used to approach us very frequently for over limit business, and it brought tremendous pressures on us. I told Mr. Thakkar that I would prepare a restructuring program for this group and that we would discuss this with Mr. Shukla and Mr. Rege when they visited us. Mr. Thakkar agreed. Though I had worked very closely with Mr. Shukla in Chennai, Mr. Rege was totally new to me. I had only made a courtesy call on Mr. Rege before coming to Kenya. I made a presentation to them. Mr. Shukla knew the background of the customers very well. Both he and Mr. Rege raised various points during the discussions. Mr. Thakkar had given me a free hand and was practically a silent observer to the discussions. Mr. Shukla suggested a couple of alternatives which I pointed out would be difficult to implement. After about an hour, Mr. Shukla told Mr. Rege, I think we will go with what Ramakrishnan has proposed. He then told me to send the proposal and assured me that he would get it cleared. The proposal was sanctioned as proposed by us without any queries. I think this discussion impressed Mr. Rege, who later proposed my name for posting as Executive Director of Allied Bank of Nigeria. I thanked Mr. Thakkar for giving me an opportunity to discuss directly with the top brass. Mr. R.P. Baddo also visited us a couple of times. He would come with a neatly written shopping list. He would give it to the Mr. Benegal and would request him to get these items. Then he would also reimburse the amount spent by him. Our variable customers. This is always a difficult subject. I have to be careful. I should not cross the Lakshman Rekha. They form part of the history of the bank. Let me try. Our customers consisted of ethnic businessmen, Indian joint ventures, and local Kenyans. All the multinationals were dealing with Barclays and other British banks. Even ethnic business was not restricted with Bank of India and Bank of Baroda. Some were dealing with British banks. Sarabhai had a trading arm in Kenya. They also set up a joint venture called Africa Synthetic Fibers Limited at Thika near Nairobi. It was a huge plant. Unfortunately, the unit ran into a lot of problems. My memory is it was ultimately sold off. The name Sarabhai brings to my mind a gentleman called Srinivasan who was a marketing executive at their Baroda head office. He used to visit Kenya every 6 months for business development. Very friendly character. He knew almost all the Tamilians in Nairobi. He would always call on me. Once I invited him home for dinner. He saw my son who was doing his 10th standard. Then he suggested that my son should try to go to IIT. He recommended that we should make him join postal classes of other worlds. He even sent me the brochures from India. Until then, we did not have much idea about IIT. Srinivasan created awareness and gave a proper guidance. We followed his advice. My son could get into IIT after 12th. I am mentioning this because in life we get advices from unexpected quarters. I always consider such things as divine interventions. LIC also had an office in Nairobi. New India had a joint venture called Ken India Insurance Company Limited. I remember one Mr. Rajput, a senior executive of Ken India. Once when I went to his house for dinner, I found that we had a hobby of collecting miniature bottles of hot drinks. He had a collection of almost 1000 bottles, all neatly and artistically displayed. Chandaria Group was another multinational with interest in many countries. One of the senior members of that family, Manubhai Chandaria, was based in Nairobi. They were mainly in manufacturing, in steel, aluminium, etc. in many African countries. They used to recruit top professionals from India. They were all respected. I dealt with this group in a big way in Nigeria. I had mentioned about Mr. Endisa earlier. He was mainly doing trading in second-hand clothing in a big way. It appears in one of the community dinners, someone made fun of him as a trader. Saab felt hurt and took it as a challenge and started manufacturing activity in steel, aluminium, etc. I am mentioning this to show that how a chance remark had changed one's business line. Tell piece. There was a young entrepreneur who was looking for finance in a small town. There were 12 banks in the town. He approached the banks one by one. No one was willing to finance him. He was quite upset. Finally, he went to the 12th bank. The manager told him that he would ask him only one question. If the answer was correct, he would finance him. Left with no option, the young man agreed to the conditions. The manager asked him, one of my eyes is real and another one is artificial, glass. Can you tell me which one is the artificial eye? The young man looked at the manager and replied, your left eye is the artificial eye. The manager was surprised that the young man had guessed correctly. He agreed to finance. Then the manager asked him, how, te- how tell me, how did you find that? The young man said, sir, I could see some sympathy in your left eye. This story was told by late Mr. Karunanandan, who was your executive director. The chapter Kenyan Safari will continue. Thank you very much for your patience. Request for like, subscribe and share.